You're now tuned into the fourth season of Atypical Voices in Our Time, the official podcast of Chemistry Productions, a media education company. Let's get it started.
That's AVIOT.
Hey, what's going on, y'all? It is Jay Stokes, your pleasant host of the AVIOT podcast. Nice to join y'all once again. I'm finally on schedule. we can applaud that. Yeah, so the main thing is we wanted to put out 2 episodes every week, one coming out on Tuesday. Whoa, what's that sound? Sorry, y'all. I live by a street, so occasionally there is noise that's outside. I don't know if y'all hear it, but I hear it's very loud. But anyways, we wanted to put out episodes on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Definitely going to get this one out on Tuesday. My mother's coming to visit me, so we're going to see what's good with that Thursday episode. I'm going to do my best to record that. But that is not the point of this podcast. It is to give y'all some of the news that's out there, among many things, and also to critique media. But we have to start with some sad news. Malcolm-Jamal Warner, child star, you know him from The Cosby Show, who played Theo Huxtable, the son of Heathcliff and Claire Huxtable. He has passed away at the age of 54. So apparently he passed away. He drowned in an accident during a family trip in Costa Rica. And it has definitely shocked the world. For many of us, Theo Huxtable was a brother, a cousin, a surrogate son. He meant a lot just for good representation as a Black man on television. It's very hard news. And I know that Black people worldwide have collectively grieved today, grieved that loss. It's really unfortunate that this has happened. I don't know what to say. I mean, everyone passes away, yes. However, this is a tragedy. Tragedies, it's just not... It just doesn't seem real. It doesn't seem like this is right or that it's appropriate. Now, aside from playing Theo Huxtable on The Cosby Show, Malcolm-Jamal Warner was in several other shows, including the sitcom Malcolm and Eddie with Eddie Griffin from 1996 to 2000. He was also the character Alex Reed on Read Between the Lines, which he starred with Tracy Ellis Ross. He was in a show called Major Crimes as the character Chuck Cooper. And he also did many other things. I know he was a bass guitar player. He is survived by his wife and his daughter. I didn't even know he was married or had a child. He seemed pretty private about that in his life. And also, the man just seemed like a very thorough, good individual. If you listen to his slam poetry, if you listen to his words, he is very pro-Black, very into supporting the Black collective. He was very big on calling out social injustices that were happening in the United States. He even, I believe, he had a foundation or a fund. He was a big supporter of the HIV/AIDS epidemic, or the occurrence of HIV/AIDS that has been happening in this country. He also, I believe, he started a podcast. Yeah, I'm reading this from People Magazine right now. He started a podcast called Not All Hood. And what he wanted to do here was break down barriers and talk about mental health in the Black collective. So just seemed like an honorable human being. And a lot more of us just need to be like that. He was a positive representation of Black men. So for those of y'all who love to put those narratives out there that there aren't any good Black men, well, we had one in this brother. He inspired us all. And I've never been shy about talking about The Cosby Show's impact on me as a child and into my adulthood. The Cosby Show is what inspired me to pursue a higher education, to get my advanced degrees, to want to be married, to just strive for better than how I grew up. And Malcolm-Jamal Warner playing that Theo Huxtable character was a huge part of my life. He was dyslexic on the show. Sorry. Tongue twister for me. And he also, if you watch The Cosby Show from when it began to where it ended, Theo went through this whole journey of not wanting to put his all into school, to graduating from college. I think he became a professor. He did great things just to see that journey of him throughout the show. And I think that journey, a lot of us have been through that journey, not necessarily liking school or being knuckleheads and then actually becoming productive members of society. So Malcolm-Jamal Warner, you definitely will be missed, and we will do our best to keep your legacy alive.
Yes, sir.
Damn, 54. They say the good die young. And unfortunately, it seems like the good people are leaving and the problematic people are still here.
Damn.
And I just got to switch gears to talk about this current presidential administration. So I think that we've all come to the conclusion that the current US president is definitely in the files of Jeffrey Epstein as having messed around with younger girls. That is alleged, right? We allege that. I don't want to get in trouble. We allege that. But it's a common thought that a lot of us are having out here. And because of that, in my opinion, because there is more energy being put in the direction of him being in the Epstein files, I believe that the current US president is doing everything in his power to get everybody off his scent. And that includes releasing the records of the FBI surveillance of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., who was assassinated back in the 1960s, I believe. Yes, 1968. That's when he was assassinated. So he's releasing these files, and Martin Luther King's daughter, Bernice King, Martin Luther King III, they didn't want these files released. The family, the estate did not want these files released because it's just going to, some people could take this information and run with it and paint certain narratives about Dr. King, whatever is in these files. I don't know what's in them. They're going to talk about the assassination. They might talk about what they found while the CIA, FBI were surveilling him. Surveying him, I should say. And people have their ideas of Dr. King already, like how he was as a father, how he was as a husband. And depending on what's in these files, it might confirm or deny certain theories that people have. I think it's pointless. Why do we need to know more about it? We know he was assassinated. We know that the government conspired to have him taken out, just like they did other prominent Black figures during that time, just like other prominent Black figures today are being taken out by the government. We know that is the case.
That's correct.
There's always a concerted effort in order to silence Black voices, in order to make it so that Black people don't get ahead. Now, Black people don't do well. That's a thing. And it's funny because I actually came across a video on Threads where this, I believe she was Asian, a woman of Asian descent, was saying, it can't just be as silly as people just not liking the color of Black skin. There has to be something deeper than that.
I feel like there's a deeper reason why, people of color and specifically the Black community have been relentlessly persecuted. Just the things that happened during slavery alone, were insane. But I don't know, the more I learn about Black history and the ways that, people who literally worked in the government, like the CIA, all these different people in power were trying to ruin the Black community. And it makes me think, dude, I feel like, is there something more going on here than just racism? Because it's like, come on, you're telling me you're doing all of this stuff just because you don't like someone's skin color? I feel like, I have this theory that, what if Black people have some type of superpower? What if they have, I don't know, if they're just born with something very valuable that we don't really know about, but maybe, like I said, these rich people and these people in power, maybe they figured it out a long time ago, and maybe that's why they were like, oh, we have to get rid of them, blah, blah, blah. I don't know. I feel like maybe they have something special that we are not taught about.
And a lot of people in the comment section were saying, yeah, Black people are the original people on the planet. And there's just something about us. There's something about our strength, our resilience, something about our creativity, something about our intelligence that a lot of people want to tap into. So yeah, I do believe it goes deeper than skin color. But anyway, so yeah, this current administration has released these files. I believe it's a digital document dump that includes more than 240,000 pages of records that have been under a court-imposed seal since 1977, when the FBI first gathered these records and turned them over to the National Archives and Records Administration. So people are going to comb through things, and people are going to be like, oh my goodness, did you know this about Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.? I mean, at this time right now, where it seems that this current presidential administration has no regards for any laws that were made in order to protect the rights and liberties of American citizens, knowing more about MLK at this point is not important. What's more important is stopping any attempts at taking away freedom of speech, stopping any attempts at deporting American citizens or people who are rightfully living in the US, stopping attempts at white supremacy and these acts of violence. You know, it hasn't escaped me that I believe, what was it, the Minnesota senator that was murdered along with her husband not too long ago, that we just kind of skirted past that and nobody's really talking about that anymore. I just find that very interesting. No one's talking about that. Let me look at senator in Minnesota murdered. Yeah, the Minnesota House Speaker, Melissa Hortman, and her husband. They were targeted in June of this year, and their lives were taken by somebody who was MAGA. So my thing is, how do we just skirt past that and we don't talk about that anymore? Holding people who are pro-MAGA accountable. Because as far as I'm concerned, people who are MAGA are pro-Klan, they're pro-Nazi. We're going to get more into that a little bit later. It's ridiculous. We're just skirting past that, and now we have outrage over these MLK files coming out and not holding the president accountable for his wrongdoings, not looking more into his involvement with Jeffrey Epstein.
If you're listening to the AVIOT podcast on a streaming service, make sure to leave a rating and a review so we can grow our platform.
Instead, we're focusing on the MLK documents. Also, another thing that we're focused on. So the current president of the United States, he has threatened the Washington Commanders football team, saying he will not facilitate a deal for the team's new stadium to be built in Washington, D.C., because the Washington Commanders have changed their name from the Washington Redskins to the Washington Commanders.
Wow.
The current president of the United States is upset that the Washington Commanders will not refer to themselves by their former name, the Washington Redskins. Tribal groups have made it a point to let it be known that they do not like the name Redskins. It is a derogatory term. They don't like it.
No.
So you, as a president of the United States, who does not have any native ancestry, to my knowledge, you want to change the name back to an offensive name instead of having it be the Washington Commanders. And so you're not going to facilitate a deal for a new stadium for the team to be built in Washington, D.C. because they won't change their name back to an offensive name. This is another thing that is being done in order to, in my opinion, get people off of his trail, to get people to not focus on him and his corruption, him being in the Epstein files, all that. That's what I believe, because all this is nonsense.
Yes.
It's bigotry, it's racism, it's ridiculous. That's why I like talking about politics on this podcast, because what can be done? I said it before, I believe, either on this podcast or on AVIOT Sunday Brew, which is when we talk to a live audience on Sundays. I said that really the only thing that can be done is you find a way to make money and then help out causes that you see fit. Just money talks. That's it. Money talks. Okay, I'm over this. I said I was going to revisit something before about MAGA being the Klan, being Nazis. So Mehdi Hasan is a British and American progressive broadcaster. He was recently featured in a debate as part of Jubilee. Jubilee is this platform in which he was able to debate 20 far-right conservatives. So he's considered a progressive, and he was debating 20 far-right conservatives. And Jubilee Media is a Los Angeles-based media company, just so y'all know. So in this debate, he was debating these far-right conservatives on issues such as immigration, such as, citizenship in the U.S. A lot of talk on immigrants from what I've seen with the clips. I don't feel like watching the whole thing. Well, I should say, I didn't feel like watching the whole thing. So I've been watching clips online, and you have one individual who proudly stated that you can call him a Nazi.
How would Connor's America look? What would it look like?
Well, quite frankly, I think we would deport people who shouldn't be here.
I didn't ask about deporting. What does the government look like?
What's the government look like?
Yeah.
I would say, quite frankly, it's under a sort of benevolent leader, such as
Where does he
Franco.
come from?
It could be a kind of aristocratic class. Could be someone
Who picks the autocrat?
Frankly, the people. I mean, we could hold a vote on it. Kings were
Isn't that democracy?
Well, sure. You can have a vote to get to that state.
And then no more votes afterwards?
Absolutely.
Wow.
100%.
Wow. And if that autocrat kills you and your family, you're fine with that?
Well, I'm not going to be a part of the group that he kills, because
How do you
that's the
know?
whole thing.
How do you know?
Carl Schmitt
Autocrats tend to kill everyone,
Carl
even their own
Schmitt makes
supporters.
this point very well in his work. It's the friend-enemy distinction, right? You
Carl
liberals,
Schmitt, the Nazi theoretician.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't care.
Are you a fan of the Nazis?
I frankly don't care being called a Nazi at
I didn't
all.
say that. I
Doesn't
didn't
matter
actually
to
say
me.
that. I said, are you a fan of the Nazis?
Well, they persecuted the church a little bit. I'm not a fan of that. But
What about the persecution of the Jews?
Well, I mean, I certainly don't support anyone's human dignity being assaulted. I'm a Catholic.
But
And
you
so
don't condemn Nazi persecution of the Jews?
I think that there was a little bit of persecution
We
and
may
stuff
have
like that,
to
which is
rename
bad.
this show
but-
because you're a little bit more than a far-right Republican.
Hey, what can I say?
I think you could say, I'm a fascist.
Yeah, I am.
He was agreeing with practices that the Nazis used in order to eliminate people of Jewish faith. And you should have seen Hassan. He was flabbergasted, as was I. This white boy, not a man to me, he's a boy, was over here proudly saying you can call him a Nazi and that he was for autocracy, that he didn't agree with democracy. Yet you're on a platform where you're debating. You're on a democratic platform debating with an individual who doesn't see eye to eye with your point of view. But yet you're for autocracy. He was just full of contradictions, as was this other girl. She was on there too. And she was talking about how she had ideas about immigration, that Hassan, people like him, shouldn't be in the country, yet her parents were immigrants. She didn't believe in birthright citizenship and all that. I'm gonna put the clip in.
And because more blue collar work, especially in construction, agriculture and so forth, and the hospitality industry, we cannot get jobs in those fields. So it requires
Are you looking
us.
for a job in construction
I am
or
not.
agriculture?
No, I went
Just
to
checking.
college.
Okay.
Many people here are in college or went to college, but we can't even find jobs in our fields. Also because of the H-1B visa program as well. But in regards to just your claim about immigrants specifically, we cannot even get jobs to pay for housing.
Unemployment is at a record low right now, even under Donald Trump. And I'm not a Donald Trump fan, but I would say unemployment under both Biden and Trump has been at record low levels.
Okay, is this in regards for American citizens?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I'm unaware of that statistic, but from what I see, from what I
I'm an
consistently
immigrant
hear-
and an American, and I employ
Sure.
many
And
American
my-
citizens,
and-
both naturalized and the ones born here.
And
I employ
my
Americans.
parents. No, my parents came
Americans as defined by you.
My parents came as immigrants to become naturalized, so I'm not necessarily opposed
Oh,
to
wow.
immigrants.
So you're the child of immigrants.
Correct. I'm a child of immigrants. I was born
But you don't
here.
accept that immigrants are Americans.
Not at this moment.
So your
because-
parents are not Americans?
Not at this moment.
So hold
no,
on, your parents are
they're
not Americans?
citizens. They became naturalized.
You just said you can't be citizens by being naturalized.
No, I was born here, and I'm not
Yeah,
opposed
you're born
to
here, right?
naturalization. I
But
never
are your
said that I'm
parents-
against naturalization.
Are you against naturalization?
No, I never said I was against
You did.
naturalization.
You began. You're very. Everyone was here. They can play it back on YouTube. You said Americans or immigrants. Are your parents Americans or immigrants?
No, my parents are United States citizens.
But they're immigrants. You said.
No, they came here as immigrants. However, but
So they
I want
are
to make the
immigrants.
claim
You
that
said,
we cannot
I came
even,
here as an immigrant. I'm
But
an immigrant.
at this point, when they came, the
I think
United,
that
the
people
United
aren't
States
happy
economy,
with the way this is going for you.
the United States economy was not at.
It's better now. The American economy is better than it's been
Not
for
from
many
the-
years.
not from the
And I can say
statistics
that
I
as someone who
see.
doesn't
We
like Donald Trump.
We're
Which
giving
statistics are you
millions
seeing?
and billions of dollars
Which
to
statistics
people
are you
of,
seeing?
minorities as well as
The reason the
immigrants
economy is doing badly now is
that
because
we
Donald
can't-
Trump's
that we're giving
tariff
it to loans.
policy.
We cannot
Nothing
even
to
get
do with
businesses.
migrants.
But anyways, it was it was hypocritical. Your parents are immigrants, but you have these strong feelings about people who immigrate into the country. Yet you are the child of immigrants. You're the product of immigrants. You see that cognitive dissonance there? You see how she just doesn't want to. What it is you are fine with white people who are also far right leaning Catholic coming into the country because you want it to be more whitewashed, but you don't want people of other backgrounds coming into the country. People who are immigrants in America, they help out. They're not stealing people's jobs. I know there's this one boy on that debate who was telling Hassan to get out the country. What kind of thing is that?
That's terrible.
So disrespectful. And Hassan held himself with poise. He was poised. He held himself up with dignity. I thought he did a great job holding his own in the debate, pointing out hypocrisy from these different people he was debating with. Like I said, I'm not watching the whole video, but I've seen clips, and it's not spliced together. I've seen full segments of certain people he was debating, but it just goes to show too. People say that, well, racism's taught, is just going to die out with whatever, with this generation, with that generation. Racism is not going to die out because racism isn't properly punished. How do you punish racism? People who have racist ideologies should not be given a platform.
Nope.
Point blank, period. People who attack another group due to racism and bigotry, they should be incarcerated and they should be rehabilitated. What do I mean by rehabilitation? While they're incarcerated, they should be made to learn about the groups that they hate or the groups that they despise. They should be made to do that. Depending on the severity of the crime, they stay in prison longer. If it's not that serious, then they get out of their imprisonment, their confinement, and they come back into society after they have dealt with the proper rehabilitation, learning about these other groups. And even after they get out, they must mandatorily go to events that help other groups out. I think that's what you need to do. Some people are truly wicked out here, though. Some people are truly hateful. And when it comes to racism and is taught, I don't believe that wholeheartedly, because at some point in time, individuals see society as it is, and they see certain people being oppressed because of the color of their skin, their cultural background, how they pray, who they decide to sleep with. And they're still like, okay, well, I'm all right with oppressing them. That's not taught. That is a personal decision. That is a personal decision that that individual makes to say, I see how being racist or being oppressive harms this individual, but I'm still going to carry out this racism. I'm going to still carry out this inappropriate behavior because it benefits me. That's a personality flaw. Some people break out of the cycle and they say, all right, you know what? I'm going to rise above this. I can be a better individual. But a lot of people don't.
No.
So yes, racism can be taught. However, I believe in certain individuals it's just in them to just not be nice people. It's easy to go along with oppressing others when you reap all the benefits. It's hard to stand up for a marginalized group when you know that it's going to take away from you living a totally comfortable life or take away from you getting all the benefits that you desire. It's harder to do that. And I think it speaks more to a person if they're willing to sacrifice that in order to help another person out.
That's correct.
But we don't see that very often. So yeah, shout out to Mehdi Hassan for holding his own in that debate. I'm just telling you, though, it's really unfortunate that that's where we are in society right now. Well, no. I can't even see it right now. We've always been that way. It's just we go through phases and cycles. At a point in time, it wasn't popular to say hateful, bigoted things out loud, but now it is. And so that's what certain people are running with. With that, let's get into our updates. You know, I've been messing up on the updates for a minute. I remember before I said, let's get into our topic of the day, and I really meant updates. Or I said something. I said commercial break, and I really meant updates. That's what happens when you step away from the mic for a long time or when you're all over the place. But anyways, I'm happy to tell y'all that the other 2 episodes of the AVIOT podcast, I put them out. There was one that I recorded back in May, and I put that one out recently. But I do put in brackets when it was recorded so that people who are listening to it for the first time, they're not like, well, this dude is not current. So I put the date, and then I also put out the other episode that I recorded last Tuesday. I put that out this weekend. Both of them were released on Saturday, and Saturday was the 19th. Yeah. No. Sorry. I put them on Sunday, the 20th. Sheesh. But now we're all caught up. So this episode right here, I'm recording on Monday, the 21st, and I'll be releasing it on the 22nd, Tuesday. So we're getting back to our regular scheduled program. Aside from that, I know I have some coverage to do for WNBA All-Star Weekend. Me and Tay were supposed to do a podcast episode on Sunday, but because I was putting those other 2 episodes out, and Tay's my sister, by the way, y'all. We have our own podcast that's affiliated with AVIOT called Sports Talk with AVIOT. So I don't know if you can't call it a whole new podcast, but what you would call it would be a segment. I don't know. But yeah, so we're supposed to do that, record that episode. That didn't happen. So we're going to work on recording another Sports Talk with AVIOT episode soon so we can get that back up. I'm sure y'all like hearing Tay's perspective on different sports. She's always a good time. I enjoy her company on the podcast when we talk our sports talk. But yeah, so I got to cover WNBA content. I also got to listen to the Tyler, the Creator album. He released an album recently. Let me look it up.
And now for a quick commercial break.
Hey guys, as you can hear, we are unapologetic in our opinions. We may be politically incorrect or possibly wrong, but don't knock us for being ourselves and saying what many are too afraid to admit out loud. Anyways, if you have any thoughts or questions about our show, email us at chemistryproductions@gmail.com. That's K3MISTRY productions@gmail.com. We'll be sure to address whatever you have to say.
I want to listen to it. I've heard that it's a good dance album. It's called Don't Tap the Glass. Some people are saying it's a good dance album. My cousin-in-law said it's Tyler Creator's an acquired taste. Some songs hit, some don't. So I'll give my own opinion on that. I listened to Burna Boy's album recently. He has a new album. It seems like he's releasing an album every year. And my thing is, I wonder what that does to his creative juices. Because I believe if you're doing songs over and over again, at some point, don't you get like writer's block? Don't you feel a type of way? But anyways, this album is called No Sign of Weakness. It was okay. I talked to a buddy of mine. He thought it was okay too. It's better than his last album, I told them. But he has some songs on there that are pretty good. For those of you who don't know, Burna Boy is a Afrobeats artist. He makes different Afrobeats music. He's from Nigeria. Great artist. I just liked his run when he did, what was it? It was African Giant, Twice as Tall, and Love Domini. Those, I felt that 3-album run was solid. But ever since then, he's been a little wonky. So my friend gave the Burna Boy album a 7 out of 10. I gave it a 6.5 out of 10. I got to watch it. I got to listen to it again before I can give an official review.
Okay.
So that's that. I might do videos on that. We'll see. Anyways, let's get into our topic of the day. And I will end this podcast episode right here. I feel like we've been speaking a lot about men, the decisions of men, right? And one of the things that I recently found out, because a lot of times when we talk about people having children, we focus a lot on the women, the health of the mother. How is she doing during the pregnancy cycle? Is she in shape? Is she overweight? How's her mental? How's her blood pressure? But we don't focus a lot on the fathers. So what I found is that the health of the father matters when it comes to a baby being conceived and a baby being born. So having high blood pressure, being depressed, having diabetes, that can play a part in the child being a preterm birth, having to be in the NICU, having a low birth weight. That's because of the father's health as well. It can also lead to preeclampsia in the mother, the father having high blood pressure or not having his health together. It can also lead into problems when it even comes to conception in the first place, because the quality of the sperm could be affected. The ability to have sperm that's healthy enough to join to the mother's egg, that could also be affected as well. So I say all this to say, men, it's not just all on the women when it comes to having children. It's not just on them to be healthy, to be fit.
No.
You also have to do what you can to be healthy, be fit, be taking care of your health, be taking care of your mental. It is very important. And then after the woman has a child as well, being involved in that child's life. It's all important. I saw this thing the other day not the other day, a couple of weeks ago, where they're talking about Anthony Edwards. So he had a child with this woman, and he refuses to see that child because he didn't want this woman to have that child in the first place. And people were saying, well, you can't be mad. The mother can't be mad at him because he didn't want to have the child in the first place. She decided to have that child, and now she's upset that Anthony Edwards isn't visiting that child. I kind of understand where people are coming from there. However, I just come from the school of thought where you got to step up and be a man. If you decide to lay down with anybody, and this goes for man or woman, you got to understand there's a possibility that you can be having a child with this person. So choose wisely who you lay down with. So I don't know if Anthony Edwards was using protection or not, whatever. He ended up getting this woman pregnant. Even if you don't like her, be in your child's life. Your child didn't ask to be born. Your child didn't ask to be put into this situation. Yeah, that woman that you slept with might be a gold digger. Okay. But guess what? You decided to sleep with her. That was your decision. You decided to sleep with this woman. And guess what? She's pregnant. She's a gold digger. You got. End of story. You got to be in that child's life. I tell you, sometimes I just look at the universe. It's so interesting. It's easy to lay down with someone and get them pregnant. But then you don't want to step up and be a good parent. But then you don't want to step up and be a father. Come on. It's not cool. I understand child support's a thing, but money is not going to take away from you being present and being active and being a good parent to your child. That's why we got so many kids today that are messed up. We got so many rascals out here that are doing inappropriate things, committing crimes because their parents are selfish individuals. They just wanted to have fun, sleep together, but they didn't think about all the other consequences. When you sleep with somebody, whether it's protected or not, they can get pregnant. You woman can get pregnant. You man can impregnate that woman. Do better. Enough. With that being said, thank y'all for listening to this podcast episode right here. We are back, and I'm doing the best I can to stay on top of things. Thank y'all. Appreciate it. Till next time. Peace.
So go a little something like this. That's AVIOT.